Today we are going to be talking spoilers for Captain America Brave New World. Make sure to like, subscribe, share, all of that fun stuff to stay up to date on all of the chatter for all things nerdy. And without further ado, let's get into some spoiler territory because the non-spoiler reviews are really hard for me because I like to talk and I never know when to shut up. So, quick synopsis of Captain America Brave New World. After the discovery of adamantium from Celestial Island, from the Eternals movie, Thaddeus Thunderbolt Ross must do whatever he can by any means necessary to ensure the completion of a treaty for the new element to be shared with various nations around the globe and avoid war. Plans go sideways as Samuel Stearns, enhanced with gamma-powered superintelligence, devises an intricate plan to show Ross for the monster he is, and red raging chaos ensues, which sounds very dirty. Captain America Sam Wilson and his partner in crime, Joaquin Torres, must do what they can to prevent a war and save those they care about, while constantly questioning the motives and actions of everyone around them. That was a whirlwind, and I am out of breath. So let's talk about the cast. I think that there are three standouts of this movie. I think Harrison Ford as Thaddeus Ross. I think Carl Lumbly as Isaiah Bradley, and last but not least, Anthony Mackie as Sam Wilson. Perfect jobs. I think overall acting is one of the best things in this movie, which, like I said in our non-spoiler review, that's not really the biggest priority when it comes to a spectacle of a Marvel film. It's more the flashiness and the CGI and superpowers and all that good stuff. But I would say out of all of the MCU titles, and there have been a few of them, I think that this movie has some of the best acting we've seen in the MCU.
Yeah, I could say that.
Like, I can say that confidently, especially from those three.
Harrison Ford did really do a good job. He really brought it acting-wise, which, of course, he would. He's Harrison Ford. For me, it brought me out of it, just because it was Harrison Ford. The new mustache, the new personality, the new actor, all of it combined together just took me out of it. But he still did a great job.
Well, one thing I thought that he did well is because Harrison Ford, in most of his roles, one thing that he always is known for and he's really good at is playing the cocky person.
Yeah.
With an ego and a smirk, but he really dialed it in. And I think that in this movie, he allowed himself to be very vulnerable and showed a side that I personally have not seen him. I mean, I haven't seen a ton of Harrison Ford other than like Han Solo and all that.
It was also hard too because Harrison Ford has been the president in a couple things, and he's the president in this.
No,
it just
haven't seen a lot of those apparently. But I think he did a really good job at showing a side of him that I am not used to personally. I also think that Carl Lumbly as Isaiah Bradley, he was excellent in Falcon and the Winter Soldier, and somehow he does even way better of a job. Just playing a really broken man.
Yeah, I did like how they did brainwashing. Because it brought that over from the other Captain storylines with Winter Soldier and all that stuff. It still brought it in as
I liked how they said
recipe.
I was listening for any trigger words or anything like that.
Yeah.
So they couldn't figure it out because they're used to hearing like, I don't know,
random
furnace. But no, instead it was flashing lights. But I think Isaiah Bradley, I really liked that he was in this movie. I liked that he was in Falcon and the Winter Soldier. And I think that he did bring a lot to this movie, and it was important that he was in the movie.
Yes.
But Anthony Mackie, holy cow. Like, dude is leveling up with every single movie that he's in. And I think that this is the best that I have personally seen him. And I actually think I might have seen more Anthony Mackie than you have. Because, like, he's done especially, like, a lot of streaming and stuff like that.
Yeah. I've seen a few things where he's in it, but I would say definitely have seen a lot.
This is his best acting. Because he's always been charismatic, but again, showing vulnerable side, like he's well rounded in this movie. I'll say, Danny Ramirez, breath of fresh air. He's charming. He's chaotic. He is.
He's one of my favorite characters, I think.
I think the challenge for him is that he goes against Anthony Mackie, who is
Yeah.
very charismatic, very comedic, and he is a presence on
I
screen.
did want to see a little more of him with Anthony Mackie just because I think they're supposed to be like the new Cap and Bucky. Like they're the best friend bros together doing the fighting. Yay.
And now I feel like Sam has a little bit more brood to him when he was the Joaquin before.
Yeah, and I need to feel that relationship a little more with him because it still feels like he's just tied to Bucky and
Give
Steve.
him time.
So I just really wanted to see him break free of that a little bit more and just be Joaquin.
Well, if Joaquin had listened, he would have been in more of the movie. But no, he got hurt. I think Tim Blake Nelson did the best with what he had script wise. I think because he had to be so dark, gloomy, and mysterious that I mean he didn't get to show a lot of range. I did like that as well. I'm just saying as far as acting abilities and stuff, like he didn't get to showcase a whole lot. His was mostly visual, like that was the effect he was supposed to have.
Yes.
I don't think acting wise he was given actually that much to do.
I hate his look. So I like the look on just the look in general of like a prosthetic makeup and all that.
You just don't like it for Leader.
I don't like it for Leader. I think it read more like Brainiac from Superman than it did the Leader for Hulk.
I don't know. For me, I think that it made sense. I think that it differentiates him from the other Hulk characters because they are all very clean cut and non-monstrous. I think the plot centering around making Harrison Ford into a monster because he made Sam Stearns into a monster himself. And I think it's a take on Gamma Frankenstein. And I think that's for me is why it worked so much. Also, I mean, he's not a character that we'll probably ever see again.
Probably
so
not.
I'm cool with it.
With just the
I did like his glowy eye.
Huh?
I liked his glowy eye.
Oh yeah, that I really loved that. It's just I think it was the sphericalness, like the pockets on the head.
It was his brain.
I know, but not all of it looked like brain. It was also just circle patches, bumps. Yeah. And in the crevices they used a lot of purple washes in it. So it was very green, purple, circular on the forehead. That's what gave it that Brainiac look. I think if they'd done like literally just it's like his brain expanded and the skin part was sucked into the lobes itself, like it was on that one side, just all over. That would have made him look more like the Leader. It could still been gross and grotesque looking while still being kind of clean and not that spherical shape. Just from a design aspect.
I like the asymmetry of it and how it looks like he was in an accident. Like something happened to him and now he's a monster. So personally, now since I've had time to marinate it, I think that I like the choices that were made. I especially just I liked his glowy eyes because he's in the shadows so much, and that was like the defining trait of okay, so the Leader's here. You can see his glowy eye. But no, I think what they did made sense for the movie. I liked it.
The broker wasn't in it. Sharon.
Yeah.
Like
I was a little disappointed that Sharon wasn't in it. But that's story-wise. We're still on cast. I think Giancarlo Esposito, I think he did a good job as Sidewinder. I think that he must have been in more of the movie, though, before reshoots.
Yeah.
Because he was barely in it, and I really wanted more of him.
Did we have to waste that actor on that character?
Yes.
I want him in the MCU so much more.
I mean, he still can be.
Yeah, but he's something.
Maybe they'll make that. I don't know. But I mean, I think with what he had to do, he did a good job. And speaking of people in the same boat, I think Shira Haas did a good job with what she had, but I don't think she was really given much.
No.
I think she was just this broody, small widow, like...
That you wouldn't have known was a widow unless they said it in the dialogue. I also, through the whole movie, just kept thinking, I wonder if this is what Edna Mode was when she was in her prime, like her younger years, because...
Small and broody.
I think she's supposed to be like a reformed villain in those, I think is what her backstory was supposed to be. And I could definitely see that as being like a young Edna Mode.
Well, I do wish that, especially fighting wise, even that she was a little more widow-esque. But
It was
speaking
cool
of
that she
character,
could take down people as small as she is, though.
yeah, I wish that we saw more of it.
Yeah.
Speaking of character design, since we went on to leaders' character design, I think that Red Hulk was extremely well done in this movie. I really liked both of Sam's suits. I liked the
Yeah.
Falcon and Winter Soldier suit. I do miss the cowl a little bit as opposed to the helmet, even though the helmet makes hella more sense. I mean, I also like his more classic Cap outfit just because I really like quarter sleeves and it's just clean.
What if the white suit had quarter sleeves?
I probably like the white suit better.
Okay.
I mean, overall, I still think I like the white suit better.
Yes.
But I mean, it was just different, and it was nice to see him as stereotypical Cap for a minute, just because so many people have exiled him from being able to be Cap. So just I don't know, seeing him in classic Cap. Everybody else has been in it. John Walker got a suit.
I know.
So you need it eventually. I do think that he goes. I hope that he goes back to something more similar to his white suit.
Yeah,
it the
makes
future.
him stand out.
Yeah, it makes him different and unique.
Yeah, we have so many Caps running around that we need something to.
I did like the increase in the Wakandan tech, especially in the wings, though, and I really liked the addition of the usage of Red Wing. So
I like the usage of Red Wing. I don't like the Wakandan tech. I also just don't think it's believable that he would have survived this movie.
He had a really good suit.
He didn't take the serum, and it's just no. You can't take on a Hulk and be just a dude.
Well, he did, and he is. I think that the sets themselves, specifically Celestial Island, I think we spent the perfect amount of time there. Because I was afraid we wouldn't get very much time there. I do wish, I don't know, that we landed on it or something. But I mean, he's an aerial fighter.
Off of it for a minute, he did that bat thing where they grabbed him
on the side. It was pretty much just a water fight with a cool background. But they could have done a little bit more with it. I did enjoy it though, and it was nice to finally see people can now be quiet about complaining that they haven't been using that.
Well, and they used it in a really good way. It's filled with antimonium. I can't say it.
Adamantium.
Yeah, I've never been able to say it.
I do wish they did more in the movie with adamantium.
Yeah, I wish the end credit scene was something like that, where they showed it being sold by somebody, like the broker, or
yes. Speaking of the power broker not being in this movie, I think a better post credit scene would have been a sample of adamantium getting in possession of the power broker, and she's how all of these organizations are getting it, and then at least
because there's so many characters.
Then we can make assumptions off of there.
So it'd be interesting.
But going back to sets, I think Sam and Joaquin's little hideout office was pretty cool. I would have liked to see a little bit more around there. I do also really like the cherry blossoms scene. I just thought it was colorful and pretty and something different, and how even when there's red raging destruction all around, there's still beauty around if you look for it and build from it. Any set wise stuff that
I thought the cherry blossoms was pushed a little bit far for it just being a sentimental thing between him and his daughter Betty. Okay, I get it, but the whole movie was centered around this one little thing that they just talked about all the time.
Now, one thing, I've never actually been to DC, so I don't know if there's any specific place in DC that actually does have cherry blossoms.
I think there is, but still just, that's the one memory they had, and we have to keep revisiting through the whole movie.
I mean, see, as somebody with a ton of parental trauma, and I mean, and you come back to those relationships as an adult, and that adult that caused you trauma, the only good memories that they have of you,
I know, you're talking
that's what they bring up.
An abundant amount of
trauma. But I'm saying why I enjoyed it.
Yeah.
So I liked it because it was very relatable, and the trauma that I have, that person, anytime they would talk to me, they would only bring up things from when I was between 4 and 8 years old, and they clearly don't know me anymore, just like Thaddeus Ross clearly does not know his daughter anymore. And so that's actually why I did like it, because it was ridiculous that this thing from so long ago is his best and only pretty much good memory of his daughter.
Yeah.
And that just shows how strained their relationship is. And so I kind of liked that. yes, they keep harping on it, but
And showing the trees all the time, and it all being the focus in the poster just for it to be that.
and it's showing that
just
he's the
funny.
problem. And so I really, to me, it didn't annoy me to keep bringing it back up and that it was nonsensical. I think every time they brought it back up, it was just that hammer in the point of he does not have that relationship anymore. He did not nourish that relationship. He damaged that relationship. And he keeps trying to come back to this one point. And it also goes back to he wants to grow and he wants to show that he's grown. And speaking of stories and themes about Ross, is that he won't hold himself accountable until the very end of this movie. And that's why he doesn't grow. And once he finally does hold himself accountable, he sees all the destruction. He has destroyed those cherry blossoms. He's destroyed that relationship. He accepts it. And then he's able to grow and finally reconnect with his daughter. And so the symbolism of all of that, like, you might not like it. I loved it. And that was one of my favorite things in the movie. So I'm going to speak passionately about it.
You should have grew a mustache.
Okay, wow. Anyhow, speaking of stories and themes, going on, I also thought Sam's story, excellent. His theming, excellent. Again, being the hero people aspire to be, like Bucky said, because...
Well, not only that, but even Joaquin. His little speech at the end of "You're the hero that I looked up to. You're the one I aspired to."
Yeah, because Steve was very much a symbol that you couldn't aspire to be that hero. Yeah. Sam is an everyday hero. People aspire to be Sam, and that's the difference.
Yeah.
They don't just want to do good. They want to be that hero, and they feel that because Sam could, they also can. And I think that that's something really powerful. And it also sets up Sam to lead the Avengers, which is a great call. I think he's a great leader, and I think he's a powerful character.
He did start talking about bringing the Avengers in. I did like the callback to him and Ant-Man. He's like, "Don't say Ant-Man," right before he did that speech.
Listen, leave Paul Rudd alone. He'll still look the same in 20 years when they need his character again. But I really did like comparing Sam to Torres because it shows how far Sam has come and where Torres is just starting his hero journey.
Yeah.
I
think we see more of him. I think we see more of them together.
I think they 100%.
I mean,
hinted that they both Avengers, would move on to the Avengers, which I'm totally for. I want to see what Joaquin can do. Because Sam has to be a little bit more serious now, so they need somebody that can be the lesser experienced one and the more comedic one.
I want to see Sam and Carol Danvers lead together.
I think that's the route that I would like.
I think it'd be interesting because they both have such military background.
Mm-hmm.
I think it'd be
I think that's why they would be a good fit.
Yeah, I think it would be a really good team led thing.
And then they would disagree, and then that would be
Civil War 2?
Yes. So going on, fight scenes in CGI. I think that the fight scenes in CGI are really well done in this movie. Specifically, anytime Sam is fighting, because he does have a different power set than any other MCU character. Well, similar now because Torres. But I think the combination of his martial arts, his shield, his Wakandan wings, and all of that, I think he does a really good job, and this is the best we've seen him in anything fighting-wise.
Yeah.
I think the CGI is really well done. They took a lot of care on his character and on Red Hulk.
I look forward to see what they do with their next suits and how they utilize their unique skill fighting. The next.
It's going to have to be based on teaming up, like combining people, like that's
2 different kicks.
Because I think after this movie we've hit the apex of where Sam's powers can go unless you give him the serum or something. But like I said, the CGI was mostly great. I think I had one scene where I was like, okay, so we're in the volume now. But it was super brief, and you can always just say it was a creative choice. Like, it was one scene out of the entire movie, and for a movie that is this heavy in CGI and in development hell just because of the timing in which it was created.
And the biggest spoiler is they turn Joaquin into a bird person like the comics.
No, they don't. I would riot.
I just wanted the people who watch the spoiler videos before they watch the movies to be like, what?
Okay. But other MCU movies to compare it to, if you're thinking about seeing this movie and you're not sure where it'll stand on your radar, I think it's super comparable to Captain America: First Avenger, Captain America: Winter Soldier. I don't think it's fair to compare it with Captain America: Civil War, just because that's a de facto Avengers movie. As
This
far
is
as the
true
MCU,
third Captain
yes.
America movie.
So I think as far as MCU solo movies, it is up there in quality. It's one of the better ones.
Yeah.
So, I mean, it's not an ensemble movie. It is very much Sam Wilson's movie.
There's no reason why this movie should get bad reviews.
No, it's simple as that.
Yeah.
Like it's one of the better solo movies in the MCU, and we've had a lot of solo movies at this point, and for it to still stand out and be unique, I liked it.
Yeah, like we ran into somebody from my work in the same viewing that we was at, and he wasn't. It was very 50-50 for him what he liked about it, but I think he would go with our review on the song.
The review was fair
from 1 to 10 too, even with him saying that he didn't like some aspects of it. So
yeah, any movie you watch, you don't have to like 100% of it, but you also cannot hate on any of it just because of external.
I think he was slightly disappointed, but at the same time, like I don't think he would give it a bad review. So I don't think anybody else should either. It might not be exactly what you were expecting or wanting, but it's still a good movie if you look at it from a movie standpoint.
And it was exactly what I was wanting and exactly what I was expecting. Like my expectations were pretty much met.
Yeah.
And it really doesn't rely on the greater MCU. It doesn't rely on heavy cameos or anything. It knows what it is and it wants to be the best that it is.
And, I like
and
that
it doesn't try to be more than that.
I like that it has hints and jokes that have to do with the rest of the MCU, but it's not just all the MCU. Like every other movie is trying to engulf everything that the MCU has brought in. Yeah. This one just has little tastes.
Yeah, and
it's a standalone movie with little hints of the other.
And it's also like it references a ton of other stuff, but it's not a movie to where you have to watch all of those other things. It easily catches you up, and you're not really missing much if you don't watch the other things. Mm-hmm. So it'd be a good starting point to the MCU, and it kind of seems like that's where it's headed. And I really like that they have more self-explanatory MCU films now to where more people can jump on the bandwagon because at this point you've had to be watching movies since the early 2000s. There is one post-credit scene. It is teasing Battle World / Secret Wars.
Yeah.
With Samuel Stern in his all-powerful knowledge that the other worlds are coming. You better be ready to defend yours.
Yeah, with as little as what that end credit scene was, I wish they had just done a hint to the power broker selling.
I really think
Antanium. I didn't want to say it again, but
well, then I will. I do think one thing that this movie was missing from me was I wish that we had any type of hint of that adamantium going on and being used for other things. Like we're like, okay, adamantium is cool, but that's all we really get as far as that, and that's the main conduit for all of the story in this movie.
I also thought about it. Wolverine has a lot of ties with Japan and China and all that in the comic books. So with them being a character player in this movie, you would have thought that it would have got tied back to like, oh, it got back to China, and then now they could have even race-bent like General Riker or something with Wolverine and did it more in China. Like, there was ways to do it to where
and they didn't even have to go there. They could have just showed, okay, Sharon now has adamantium. It's going to go somewhere nefarious.
Yeah, I think it was there. It was right there in front of them where they could have used it.
Yeah. But anywho, I personally like that the movie doesn't rely on its post-credit scene though, because there for a while MCU movies were like, okay, like this movie was cool and all, but like this post-credit scene is what you came here to see.
They would never pay it off.
I like that they're kind of dialing back the post-credit scenes a little bit. That's why, like, showing Sharon would be cool because she did have a big part in the show, and just showing it's often nefarious things, and that would have been enough for me.
That's another thing that they're just going to leave in the wind at this point. They're probably not going to bring her up again.
Who knows? Maybe. Or maybe she is going to be what reintroduces adamantium. I don't know.
But I do feel like this was a going back to basics for Marvel.
Yeah, that's kind of what I liked about it,
Yeah.
honestly. And with that, let's go on to final ratings.
7.5.
Pretty similar to me. My rating is 8 out of 10. I thought it was a great movie. Do I think it's perfect? No. Do I find it highly entertaining and it finds intuitive ways to show off the character development and the power sets of those in the movie? Yes. Do I enjoy the callbacks to other things and exploring old characters that we haven't seen in a bit or that we just haven't gotten to exploring? Yes. So, like I said, I think it met my expectation perfectly. It was exactly what I expected it to be, a solo movie, not an Avengers level movie. Like I really enjoyed it.
And
I'm gonna go see it again in 2 days.
During our conversation, I thought about if they wanted to do Civil War 2, they could easily do that too, because they kind of made the leader a precog in this movie, and that's what the whole point of Civil War 2 is about. It's about there's a precog and they're trying to argue,
Trying to stop crime before it happens,
Yeah.
and can you try somebody before they actually commit a crime?
Yeah, so
But
they could easily walk right into that.
and he's still kicking. So let's see. But for this spoiler review of Captain America: Brave New World, that is all we got. Let us know what you think in the comments below. Like, share, subscribe, all of that good stuff. Until next time, I'm LJ.
And I'm Win.
See ya.